Okay, looks like I'm gonna be using my arm again as a tripod. Hello, my name's Savannah. I talk about whatever I want to, whenever I want to on my channel. And today I'm excited because I'm gonna be doing a review on JoJo's Bizarre Adventure. More specifically, Diamond is Unbreakable. I've actually tried to record like 3 different times, so I'm a little frustrated. But I want to start doing reviews for my favorite anime series. JoJo's Bizarre Adventure is like my #1. For all the other JoJo's, I watched the anime before I read the manga. And then when Diamond is Unbreakable came out, I had actually read the manga before the anime came out. I only read like 2/3 of the manga, so I wanted to watch the anime because recently I didn't have as much time on my hands and I thought it would be easier. But when the anime for Diamond is Unbreakable came out, I wasn't really impressed. I just didn't like the way it was animated. I decided to wait until the series was done and they were off to the next JoJo to pick up the series and watch it. Came back to it and I felt much better about it, and now I'm in the process of watching it. Right now I'm on episode 20, but I want to review the series in batches of 13. I haven't really came up with a structure for how I'm going to do anime reviews, so this one's going to be more of a stream of consciousness, episode by episode review. So first episode, I had some issues, but those will be discussed later. You get to see Jotaro. Jotaro is in a cab. He's going to Morio. Oh my god, I'm terrible. Marty. Should know the song by now after watching so many episodes. Immediately you can tell, even though Jotaro has matured quite a bit, there's still some things about him that are the same. One thing that I didn't like is I did not like how Josuke was introduced. When the upperclassmen were bullying him, I kind of felt like his personality was kind of altered to fit the narrative of introducing him into the story. The Josuke from any other point in the series wouldn't have taken those upperclassmen's crap, but for the sake of the story and for the sake of him being introduced, he was just docile until they said something about his hair. I know the same thing happened in the manga, but it's just different seeing it animated. It's just very, very different. One thing that I did like is they showed that he is popular with the girls crowding around him and stuff. One of my favorite scenes in the first episode was when the girls were blushing because Jotaro went off on them and told them to go away. They didn't even like yell or squeal or anything. They were just like, oh, okay. And they were blushing the whole time. Something small, but you know, it was cute. That was roughly my opinion of episode 1. Not much went on. They talked about Angelo a little bit, which was the first villain introduced in the series, and yeah. My opinion of episode 2 kind of fluctuated a little bit. At first, I thought that they weren't going to talk about the heinous act that Angelo did. They just said he committed this crime and it was so terrible and this and that, and I was like, so they're not gonna say what he did? In the second episode, they said what he did, and I was like, oh, okay. They didn't need to put it in there, but I don't like censorship. Like, this is JoJo. You cannot censor anything. I want to see it all. And boy, did I get to see it all. I got to see Angelo bite off the nose of a dog. You know how Araki loves his dogs. So yeah, Angelo was introduced. One thing that I thought was funny in episode 2 was when Josuke's grandfather came home and he put a gun to his head and was like, why aren't you at school? I don't remember that happening in the manga, but I was laughing. I was like, that's grandparenting 101 right there. That was so funny. I feel like the grandfather's death was very anticlimactic. It was just, oh, he's dead. Josuke just turned around from the window and he was dead. It communicated that he could not bring people back to life once their soul had left their body, but it just didn't really feel like a legitimate death. It kind of just felt like, oh. And not to mention, these are some persistent villains. Like, I never realized how persistent these villains were, like hiding in trees and stuff. When Angelo was shot with the arrow, it was perfect because when the arrow went through his mouth and pinned him to the wall, you could just sense the fear and the tears streaming down his face. That whole scene was perfection, especially when the guy who shot him was waiting to see if he died or not. It was just a really, really intense scene, and I think it was really, really well done. Okuyasu, I didn't really have any impression of him in the manga, but in the anime, as soon as he was introduced, I didn't like the fact that he sounded like a 98-year-old smoker. It really grew on me though. His voice has grown on me. I was so excited to see these stands be animated. I think the most enjoyable part was Okuyasu's brother. His stand Bad Company was really, really cool. One of my favorite scenes was when one of the soldiers from the Bad Company stand climbed up and stabbed Koichi in the face. It was just really cool watching them work separately and then as a unit and then in the helicopters. I was way more interested in these stands than the ones from Stardust Crusaders. And also, I have to mention this, I'm pretty sure Koichi's voice actor has played in quite a bit of BL CD dramas, because that's all I think about when I hear his voice in distress. It's like, oh, I've heard this voice before in a good place. I didn't really care for the brothers. Like, Okuyasu has grown on me now, but when I was watching those episodes, I was really annoyed. The thing with the father, it was like touching. I know JoJo's Bizarre Adventure switches moods frequently. It may be something that I'm noticing because I'm older. I think JoJo's Bizarre Adventure has always done that. It was just sometimes aggravating. But they always get the information that they're trying to get across because Dio died. The dad of the brothers transformed into this hideous thing. They got the information across, but the episodes were kind of like, man, Okuyasu, again, he's growing on me, but I don't really care for him. He's just so dense, guys. He's just so dense, and it's just like, oh my god. So in episode 6, you meet the guy who makes people feel guilty and puts a lock on their hearts, I guess. And I didn't really like that episode, but only because I didn't like that character. He decided to go to his house with his mother and sister. It's always the extremes with this show, and that's why I love it. But also, it's just like, really? He did this thing and you're just gonna go to his parents' house? These are some persistent villains, I'm telling you. And then they have the nerve to turn like good after they've been defeated. It's aggravating for the first 13 episodes that I watched, because these villains do some really messed up stuff. And then for them to have the nerve to hang out with the main characters afterwards, I would be pissed. But it's JoJo, anything can happen, I get it. One of the things that I realized when I was watching was I love how the color contrasts with the blood. When violence happens, it's shocking almost every time because of the color palette for the anime. I think that's really, really cool. I don't know if they did that on purpose, but it's colors that are pleasant to look at. And also, I wonder if there was a lot of thought put into the outfits that they wear. I kind of feel like some characters, there was a lot of thought put into their outfits, and then other characters, not so much. For some of the characters, their outfit was kind of merged into them. Clothing was just like, okay, let's just draw a heart on this uniform. Let's draw a belt there, and like, let's make this blue. Like, for example, Josuke's outfit is just eh. It's like eh. And then Koichi's outfit's eh. And then Jotaro, his whole freaking hat merged with his hair. I'm never gonna understand that. Watching Koichi's stand echoes in animated form was really, really cool. I really, really thought that was awesome. Especially in episode 8 and 9 when Yukako kidnaps Koichi and holds him in her house. It made it a lot more interesting seeing and hearing everything that was happening. In the manga, it could only go so far because, you know, it's pages. It's like, Araki, how did you come up with this? You're a genius, man. You're a genius. I'm not for violence against dogs, but I admire that man so much. I don't really like Yukako as a character. I like her character design. They did a really good job on her character design. She's really pretty. I think they put more thought in her design than some other characters. But the coolest thing was seeing Koichi's stand. Koichi was like, she might put my mom in danger if she finds out I'm a mama's boy. I thought that was the funniest thing. I was like, oh my god, can you imagine? You know, they still explain stuff too much. That's something that happens in JoJo a lot. But it's like, once you understand that that's the style, you're just used to it. They did a really good job with the dialogue. Episode 10, when they went to the chef and he had food that would heal the body. I forgot his name. That was an episode I was really looking forward to. The mood switching in the show was doing too much, so I didn't enjoy it as much as I thought I was gonna enjoy it. But still, I was really happy to see it. Watching Okuyasu when he was itching like all the dead skin off of him, it was like a disgusting episode, but it was really cool and I really liked the concept of it. I really also liked how you can see the extent of how far Josuke's power can go when he reverted the spaghetti back to like the grains and the tomato, and you can see that it was a part of the chef's stand. I think it's really cool how all things are considered when these stands are making their moves, like the elements, the setting. Episode 11 and 12, I hate Red Hot Chili Pepper. I don't like the stand. I don't like the person. I swear these first 13 episodes were nothing but annoying villains. And then Okuyasu, who was trying to get revenge for his brother, him making terrible decisions. One of the things that was interesting is how Okuyasu lost his hand and got it cut off, and then Red Hot Chili Pepper dragged him into the electrical unit, and Josuke revived him through his hand that had been chopped off. And I was sitting there like, there should be rules to this. I know you can use anything and everything under every circumstance, but I just feel like there should be rules in place. There should be set rules that, okay, this can't happen because that would be too good to be true. I don't hate Okuyasu, but I was just like, really? Really? If you're not dead, he can do anything. And also, episode 12, is Koichi just gonna keep his hair like that? Like the episode where he cut off his hair because Yukako put her hair into his and he just cut it, and does it just stay like that? So I just thought that was also interesting. And then finally at the end of episode 12, after Red Hot Chili Pepper was dealt with, I was so happy. He was so annoying. Josuke got to meet his dad, and I was squealing the entire time that Joseph and Josuke met, how he helped him off the boat and everything. And then Okuyasu's dumb self trying to ask him to repair the cane. I was really, really happy when I got to see Joseph and Josuke meet and how he held hands with him to walk him. I was squealing. And usually I squeal at other stuff. I don't usually squeal at like seeing your parent for the first time. Like, that's not something that I usually squeal at. But I was like, oh, that's so cute. My brothers came in the room and they're like, what's going on? I'm like, he met his dad. And they're like, oh, okay, well, we're ahead of you. And I'm like, shut up and get out. They're actually watching the next Jojo. And that's why I needed to watch this, because I can't be behind on my favorite anime. It just doesn't make any sense. Even though I say these episodes were annoying, I thoroughly enjoyed them. Finally, we get to episode 13, where the invisible baby comes into play. I actually don't remember that being in the manga. It probably is. I don't have the best memory, but one of the most interesting things about that episode was seeing the dynamic between Josuke and Joseph. The initial response for Josuke was to be kind to his dad, but in this episode you see him get agitated, and then the repressed feelings actually start to surface, where he's just like, this guy is weird and I don't really care for him. It was really cool seeing those feelings not just be dismissed once they finally met. It was more realistic seeing the uncertainties there when they happened. While I do think Joseph slitting his wrist was dramatic, again, it's Jojo, anything can happen. I really liked the episode for the purpose of making Josuke admit the feelings and uncertainties he did have about Joseph. That was really important, instead of just dismissing it altogether. I'm more appreciative of bonding stuff between family now than I used to be. If I'm not mistaken, he was in his 60s, and Josuke's mom, she was in her 20s. Like, the JoJos have it good. I like Josuke's mom a lot. Like, I really like her character, because I feel like you can tell that Josuke is her son, because just their behaviors are similar, different, but similar. Josuke's personality, sometimes I feel like it's black and white. He is chill most of the time and then has spurts of anger depending on the situation. That's something I didn't like in the beginning that I was seeing, but eventually it just gets to the point where, hey, that's just him, and it kind of grows on me. And then also I started to kind of think he was cute. That voice actor plays somebody that I have a crush on. I know it, because I was listening to Josuke talk and I was like, I like his voice. I guess his hair isn't all bad. Yeah, so that's how I feel about the first 13 episodes. Again, this was more of a stream of consciousness thing. I haven't really found a proper order to express my opinions of these episodes. I'm gonna try to get it together because this is just like all over the place. Those are my opinions of a third of Diamond is Unbreakable so far. I had a lot of preconceived notions about how it would be animated, so I'm happy I waited, and now I'm watching it, and now it's much more enjoyable. I don't know about any of the other JoJos after Josuke, but I do know I like the whole high school thing. When I actually started reading the manga a few years ago, I didn't like it because I was like, okay, this is a new setting. I don't really like this, but I have more of an appreciation for it. It's kind of fresh. Like, so far, all the JoJos have been pretty different, and they've been doing a really good job at keeping them different and keeping the environments different. I really appreciate that. Yeah, anyways, peace out. And put it in a backpack. Sorry, one of my friends is calling.